Maman died today. Or yesterday, maybe. I don't know. Okay, talk about a jarring opening line, right? This emotionless statement drops us headfirst into the bizarre, totally unapologetic consciousness of our protagonist, Meursault. He gets a telegram about his mom passing, but instead of breaking down, he's just kind of confused about the timeline. It's a completely unfiltered look at a mind that simply does not process grief the way we expect. To him, the universe is indifferent, and his reactions, they just mirror that exact indifference. To really get this haunting text, we've got to look at how Camus actually wrote it. His translator noted he used what he called un-American method. Think Hemingway, short, precise, really straightforward sentences. And it's such a brilliant stylistic choice. It takes these incredibly complex, absurd situations and makes them look deceptively simple. It literally forces us to see the world exactly how our stickman hero does, just one concrete fact at a time. No flowery introspection, just the cold, hard reality of existing.
Okay, moving right into Section 1, Death and Indifference.
So the friction starts literally right away at his mother's funeral, and it perfectly sets up this wild contrast between expectation and reality. Society expects a devoted son, right? Grieving, weeping, totally devastated. But Meursault's reality? He is strictly bothered by physical discomforts. He's annoyed by the blinding glare of the whitewashed room, the bumpy bus ride, and this absolutely oppressive, sweating sun. The emotional weight of death is just completely replaced by bodily sensations. He's not sorrowful, he's just really, really hot.
Get this. Instead of weeping, he hyper-focuses on the most mundane details. He's smoking a cigarette and drinking a coffee with milk right next to the casket. He's watching his mom's elderly friends arrive, and he's mostly just fascinated by their wrinkles and the weird sucking noises they're making with their toothless mouths. And during the actual procession, it's the sticky black tar on the road and that insane heat that overwhelm him. It's less of a funeral march and more of a sensory endurance test. And the crazy part? His strongest emotion that whole day is just intense joy when he finally sees the lights of Algiers, knowing he gets to go sleep for 12 hours. Physical relief just totally overrides the funeral.
Which brings us to Section 2, Driven by Physical Sensations.
So, just one day after he buries his mother, on Saturday morning, he hits the beach, goes for a swim, and starts up a physical romance with a former coworker, Marie. By Saturday evening, they're out laughing at a comedy movie. And by Sunday, he's just chilling on his balcony, passively watching the street, the cats, and the weather. He exists 100% in the present moment. No guilt, no mourning holding him back. And the thing is, he isn't even trying to be scandalous. He just naturally responds to whatever life puts in front of him that day.
What drives him is this absolute, almost disturbing honesty. When Marie straight up asks if he loves her, he says no. When she asks if he wants to get married, he basically shrugs and says it makes no difference to him. He says, it didn't mean anything, but that I probably didn't love her. He absolutely refuses to fake an emotion he isn't feeling, even when just lying and saying the right thing would be so much easier. In our world, where everyone is performing these elaborate social scripts, his refusal to lie is kind of refreshing, but also deeply unsettling.
Against the backdrop of this gorgeous, sun-drenched Algerian beach, we see this chilling, non-judgmental detachment from everyone and everyone. Whether he's dealing with his sketchy neighbor, Raymond, who beats his mistress and asks Meursault to help write this manipulative letter, or old Salamano, who is constantly abusing his mangy dog, Meursault's reaction is exactly the same: flat indifference. He helps Raymond simply because he figures he has no reason not to. He's completely missing that moral compass society uses to filter right from wrong, leaving him perfectly and tragically neutral.
All right, let's look at the big turning point. Section 3, The Murder on the Beach.
The timeline of this day is just a slow, suffocating escalation. Morning starts with a blazing sun at the beach house. By noon, there's a violent fight with a group of Arabs, and Raymond gets slashed. Things cool down a bit with a tense standoff around 1:30, and it seems like the violence is over. But then, at 2 p.m., Meursault walks back to the spring alone, completely overcome by the blinding heat. That unbearable sun acts almost like an active character in the story, just pushing him forward step by agonizing step. It's this incredible masterclass in how environmental pressure can dictate human action.
And the climax here? It is entirely sensory. We're talking glare, heat, sweat, salt, light. Meursault feels the oppressive weather way more intensely than he feels any actual anger toward the guy he's facing. His forehead is throbbing. The Arab draws a knife, and the light flashes off the steel, stabbing right into Meursault's eyes.
The book describes symbols of sunlight crashing on his forehead. The sea gasps for air. The sky splits open to rain down fire. And in that literal moment of sensory overload, his hand tenses and the trigger gives. It's not an act of calculated malice, it's a reaction to overwhelming physical duress.
He shatters the exceptional silence of the beach with one initial, deafening shot. He pauses, and then he fires 4 more times into the motionless body. And it was like knocking 4 quick times on the door of unhappiness. That pause, right? Why those 4 extra shots? That inexplicable repetition is what seals his fate. It's the exact moment he consciously commits to the absurd randomness of the universe. He crosses a line he can literally never walk back from.
Which leads us to our final act, Section 4. Society judges the stranger.
The aftermath yanks our papercraft protagonist out of his purely physical world and drops him squarely into the rigid, rule-bound structures of justice and religion. Cut to the examining magistrate's office. You got this frantic man pacing around, literally waving a silver crucifix in Meursault's face, passionately demanding that he repent and find meaning in God. And Meursault, he is just hot. He's annoyed by these big flies landing on his face. The magistrate isn't even disturbed by the murder itself, as much as he's horrified by Meursault's lack of faith and his absolute refusal to play the expected emotional game.
It gets to the point where the magistrate declares, "I have never seen a soul as hardened as yours." Society's ultimate revenge here is trying to force some moral framework and a sense of guilt onto him. During the trial, they literally spend more time obsessing over his lack of tears at his mother's funeral than they do looking into the self-defense angles of the actual shooting. To them, a man who doesn't cry at his mother's funeral is a monster capable of anything, because if society can't understand him, they feel they absolutely have to destroy him.
So they lock him up. He's deprived of the sea, swimming, women, cigarettes, everything. At first it's rough, but then he adapts. Our stickman survives by mentally cataloging every tiny detail of his old room just to kill time. He trains himself to sleep up to 18 hours a day. He endlessly rereads this one scrap of newspaper about a tragic Czech murder. And he comes to this wild realization. A man who lived just one single day in the outside world could easily survive 100 years in prison on his memories alone. He completely proves his mother's old saying that a person really can get used to absolutely anything.
So at the end of it all, this explainer leaves us with a pretty heavy question. Is Meursault a monster for not crying at his mother's funeral, or is he just the only honest man in an entirely absurd world? Does his brutal, unfiltered honesty make him a villain, or does it just expose the fake theatricality of the society that's judging him? It's definitely something to chew on the next time you feel pressure to fake an emotion you don't really feel. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and hey, keep questioning the world around you.